Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope you're doing really well in this moment in time, and that whenever and wherever you happen to be, as we hurtle through space, receiving all of the assaulting energies that are forcing us to grow. They're waking us up, forcing us to grow. Spiritually, just messing with us, no matter wherever you are. During this crazy, crazy time, I hope that you are able to hold off on giving into your knee-jerk reaction assumptions. Everybody hops to conclusions every now and again. Every once in a while we'll hear something and then we just boom have a knee-jerk reaction to it, or we'll have like an assumption that things are that way, whatever way that is, depending on the situation, of course. So I was thinking about this a couple days ago, and I was going to do this as the introduction like 2 days ago, and I completely forgot because I think my higher guidance suppressed this. And as I sat down today, boom, it came right back into my head. I'm like, wait a minute. I remember God saying, put this one off until Friday. Yeah, it's Friday now. And I don't know why, but some of you weren't ready yet to hear it, and now you are. And I have learned in my 50 some odd years here on the planet that it's always best to hold back, take a deep breath, step back from whatever the situation is, and don't jump to conclusions. Now, when I was in my teenage adult years, 18 and 19 and 20, and up until the age of 21, I did not trust my own instincts. And I was closed-minded and judgmental, like so many people can be. Or when you're young, you assume you know what's going on and you are smart and everyone else is kind of an idiot, right? I mean, it's kind of like a phase that most people go through, I think. When you're a teenager, there's like nothing that anyone can say to you because you know everything, right? You get in your 20s, you're like, oh, snap, I didn't really, yeah, wow, I didn't really know what I didn't know. You never know what you'd never know until you realize you didn't know it, right? I remember I knew who I was, but I was still kind of playing with the idea of who I was back in those days. And I know that when someone would do something or say something, I would take it personally immediately, or I would jump to conclusions that were usually false. I always assumed everyone was against me, but that's what happens when you grow up in an abusive household. When one or two parents are like abusing you, you know, especially if one of them is a narcissist and they're constantly gaslighting you. What happens is you end up assuming that you're always wrong. You know, when you're in your formative years and you're formulating an opinion about the world and yourself and all the people surrounding you, but when they're betraying you with gaslighting and a bunch of BS, you doubt yourself. And if you were raised in an abusive home, you know what I mean. You're constantly doubting yourself and you assume that other people are right and you're wrong. And that's a bad assumption to have. Because another thing that happens when you end up in an abusive home as a child is your instincts get sharply honed. You get to be finely tuned. Finely tuned. You become like a finely tuned psychic instrument machine, and you know. It kind of puts a built-in bullshit detector inside your mind. And everybody has this, and everybody has the energy in their aura, and they can feel it when someone is lying, and they can feel it and sense it when someone is a little off, when things are not 100% quite right. But maybe sometimes, just maybe, when things are not 100% quite right, it is possible you don't have the full story. The other person's holding something back. Yes, something's off, but you don't know what's off or why. And if you jump to your own conclusions based on your own personal experience in life, and then you get to that situation and you assume something, you have to stop, take a step back, ask the person to give them the space and the grace to explain themselves, right? All right, so you were late. Why were you late? We had plans at 4, it's 8 o'clock. Where have you been for 4 hours? What happened? And if you could say those words without being angry or judgmental, listen to their explanation. Turn on your bullshit detector just in case. Turn it on, just beep, beep, beep. You know, just a little bit. Just turn it up. Turn up to 11. That one's better. One better. You know, and when the person is discussing whatever it is they're discussing, especially if you're an empath, you can feel it in your aura. And you can know them on other levels, right? If you allow yourself to. And usually you'll figure it out, right? You'll figure out if they're lying to you at that moment. You'll figure out if their story is credible. But a lot of times, and what I've found is probably at least 7 times out of 10, if not 8 or 9 times out of 10, there's always a really good explanation for something that's logical, reasonable, easily backed up, and it had nothing to do with you, and it had nothing to do with the other person doing something against you or behind your back or anything that would involve you at all, actually. Usually, you know, I was stuck in traffic, there was a big crash, we could look it on the TV right now, or, you know, look it up on YouTube. It was a chemical spill or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it could be something like that. Or I had to work an extra 4 hours at work, there was a project. That always seems to be a secret code of I was cheating on you with the secretary, right? And it's always like that sort of energy to it, like when someone says, well, I had to work late, because that was a theme in so many TV shows and movies. But in real life, you cannot jump to those kind of conclusions. You know, I've been coming or I was home. I'm just trying to say something. Okay. When I was married and I was a newlywed and I had fallen in love, or remembered I had been madly, passionately, deeply in love with my husband who died. When we met, the day we met, I was like, oh my gosh, he's my soulmate. Like, not my twin flame, okay, which is a way more intense thing, but with my soulmate, it was plenty tense enough. It was really intense because we had so many lifetimes together. I'm literally going to write a book about all of the lifetimes we had together, because it's a beautiful love story that literally spans thousands of years, and we chose to be together and work things out, a lot of things out, and this was the last life, and we worked everything out. Our last thing together was to have children, and we did that, and he freaking left early. And 10 years ago, he died. So I remember realizing, after I only knew him a couple weeks at school, we saw each other 6 days a week, and I felt like he's the one, and I have to leave my husband, and it just was killing me, because my husband was a good man, very good man. I wasn't in love with him, but he was a good man. And I was like, I don't want to go home, don't want to go home. And I remember driving around the block like 20 times, and I was late. And he was worried about me, and I felt that. I was like, and it was a horrible thing, and I wasn't cheating, but it was one of those instances where, thank God he didn't jump to conclusions, right? He didn't assume something. He knew something was wrong, but he didn't want to assume what it was. And I was like, thank God. We had that kind of really good communication. We had a good relationship and great communication, and it was awesome, but he wasn't the one. And years later, I found out that I had to marry him and then leave him so that he understood what it was like to lose me, to lose someone that you love, because in a past life, he killed my soulmate. And we were expecting a baby, and he had been promised my hand in marriage, and we were going to have a wonderful, beautiful life together in the castle that I lived in France. My father was like a duke or archduke or something like that. And I was in love with a knight, the head knight. That's what my husband was like the head knight of like the little army to take care of that little section of France. But the British came in, and usually the British had this thing where they would, everyone line up with their horses on both sides, and the general would go out. The two generals would go out for the armies. And my husband was like the head knight, basically like the general of the army, basically. And so they would meet in the middle and try to come to a peaceful conclusion. And if they can't, then they retreat back to their section, and then the fight will ensue, and whoever's left standing at the end of the battle pretty much gets their way. That's how it used to be done. And in that life, my first husband was a general for the British, and my soulmate was the general for the French side, at least that section of France. France wasn't, it was like little tiny, almost like, not like kingdoms, but it was like little tiny, sections, counties, provinces. I don't know what they're called. I don't know too much about it, but anyway, I know that he was, they were both meeting on the field, that battlefield. And that day when my first husband ran a sword through my soulmate's liver area, and it took him a while, like hours, to die, and really hurt him, really hurt him. It went through like his liver and his lower back, and he didn't even bother talking. He just ran a sword through him. It was just like, that's it. We're not going to negotiate. We're done here. We're going to fight and take this part of France, right? And that was like his mentality. So then, fast forward to this life when I didn't know any of this information. And he lost me to, and in my first husband's whole life was about learning about honor in battle. That was his whole thing. He actually was a sword fighter, and he would make money at festival sword fighting. Oh my God, right? And so he was really, 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 really good with the sword. And I mean, he even like instead of mowing our lawn with a lawnmower, he would like hack it with a machete because it was funny. He had all kinds of swords and knives, and he loved martial arts, especially when it involved long blades. It was very weird indeed. But overall he was very sweet, humble, nice guy, and he was one of the good ones. And he told me that his whole life he wanted to learn about how to have integrity and honor as a man and have respect for women. And he was very much had learned that lesson. So when like my two men met, when my first husband met my second husband to be, basically when before we were even engaged or anything, they met, he bowed down to him. It was weird. And he had tears in his eyes, and he shook his hand and he said, "Please take care of her. She's a good woman. And I will bow out gracefully now and allow you two to be together." Like literally that was the conversation. And I was like, this is some kind of weird medieval shit right here. But I mean, this is like the chivalry and it was so strange. It really freaked me out. And fast forward even years later, I'm like married, we've got kids. We knew we did the right thing. It was painful, but we had to go through that. And all of a sudden, my husband was outside, my second husband was outside looking at the forest late at night. And all of a sudden, he came back and he was like, "Holy moly, he's the one that killed me. I remembered it. I just freaking remembered it. Yeah, he deserved to lose you because he caused you to lose me." And I'm so grateful, looking back, that my first husband didn't assume I was having an affair. He didn't assume anything. He just open-mindedly listened to everything. And his compassion and love actually blew my mind. It blew me away. But it all happened the way it needed to happen. We all had this soul contract and this agreement that it was going to happen the way that it did. And I only saw my first husband on another day when he needed help, and he was desperate and he didn't have anyone else to help him. And he said, "This is going to be a really weird thing, but I need to ask you if you and your new guy could come and help me." And we did. We did. We literally did. We went and we helped him. And we had to give him a ride to a couple different places. And then on another day, he asked me if I could come meet him because he had to discuss money, tax issues. Okay, so we went back over there for tax things. And he wanted me to meet him at the bank, and he handed me money. And he said, we were married and you deserve half of my tax refund. And I'm like, I would never ask you for that. That's ridiculous. He said, "But I love you and I want you to have it. I'm a man of honor. I'm a man of my word. And I believe that we should have shared everything 50-50. And you took your stuff, I took my stuff, but I'm giving you half of the tax refund because we were together during that year." I was like, what? Oh my God. And then he kissed me, planted one on me like he never had during our whole relationship, which shocked the hell out of me. And I was like, and then like John Wayne, he literally walked off into the sunset. And I never heard from him again. I was like, oh my God. That was some kind of crazy. I'm standing there with $1,000 in my hand, and my first husband had just kissed me, and he walked away. Literally into the sunset. The sun was literally setting in the sky, and he walked in the direction of the sunset, and he did it on purpose. I knew that's what he was doing. Because he always thought that was great, like in Westerns when that kind of thing happened. I'm like, dude, that was nuts. Crazy thing. And I just like walked kind of stunned back to the car with my, the man who became my husband of 13 years. He's like, what happened? What did he want? I'm like, well, he wanted to give me money, and he did. And he kissed me goodbye. And my husband's like, good. Okay. I guess that's over then. And again, thank God my second husband didn't come to conclusions and assumptions, and it's so important to just kind of step back and give the other person space. And, you all have heard to assume something means to make an ass out of you and me. Assume, of course, being spelled A-S-S, ass, and then you, and then me, M-E. I don't know if you've heard of that or not, but to assume something means to make an ass out of you and me. A lot of fights can happen between friends or couples or even family members out of just jumping to conclusions based on your own stuff, your own emotions, your own spiritual lack of growth at that moment up until that point. Or maybe it's not spiritual. A lot of times it's just your damn ego that gets in the way sometimes. Sometimes it's your ego. Like when I was very young, and when I was 18, I ended up getting involved with a man that I was with for 6 years, and we were like married. Well, how was it? We weren't married, but we were common law married. In the state of California, if you're living together with somebody for 18 months and you're both like contributing rent-wise and whatever, you're technically common law married. And there are some laws and protections that are available to you even if you're not legally married, which is pretty cool, interesting. But we had been together 6 years, and he left me right before it was 7 years, because we'd had a conversation about common law married. Federally, you have to live together 7 years in order for the federal government to recognize that you're common law married. In common law, people don't talk about it. It's a whole thing, a whole nother level of discussion. But anyway, I was with this guy for years, I've always had good, solid relationships, but they were like for years, not like a week here, 2 weeks there, 3 months here, I've had a couple of those, but usually, I've had a lot of karmic relationships I had to get through. Thank God I'm done. It's been 3.5 years. I've been finished with all of that. But my first relationship was hard because I was a teenager. I had been abused. I had not had a lot of counseling yet to unravel the crap from my childhood yet. I hadn't been fully aware of how relationships and things are supposed to work with people. And I was just kind of stumbling around in the dark trying to figure it out. And I remember the first time that and this is before cell phones, so the first time my boyfriend didn't come home on time, and he was 2 hours late, and I kept calling his work and they wouldn't answer the phone, and he was 2 hours late. It wasn't like him. He was always on time. He was always punctual. He was always made me feel secure, and his time was always like right on the nose. And he had a clock in his brain that he knew within 1 minute every single time I asked him. In almost 6 years, he always knew the time. I remember one day he said, I feel a little off today. I don't feel weird. I feel weird. I don't know what's going on. And he says, what time is it? And he guessed the time, and he was 3 minutes off. And we looked at each other, and we just felt like something weird happened to him, like he was abducted by aliens or something, because there's no way in hell he would ever be off. Time-wise, it was weird, really weird moment. But like for me, I never know what the fuck time it is, so for me, so for that totally impressed me. It was like a super impressive thing about him. But I remember one time he was like 2.5 hours late coming home, and I guess he was working with disabled adults was his job, and I guess one of them, I don't know, I think she took like too many of her pills because she forgot, or she had a seizure or something, and she ended up in the hospital. So for 2.5 hours while he's in the emergency room, practically the moment he got there, to his work that day, and so he wasn't home it wasn't in the group home the whole time. But I didn't know that. So here he's like 2.5 hours late, and no one's answering the phone, and oh my God. And I didn't know until like a year later that all the residents in this group home, because they're all severely emotionally disturbed, they gave them meds and drugged them and every night to make them go to sleep. It was like from their doctor's prescription, but they all had to have antipsychotics and like Thorazine and crap. It was like nuts. And maybe that is I don't even know. Maybe that is an antipsychotic. I don't freaking know. But they were all in their, all in bed and asleep by like, I don't know, 8 or 9. And so here's like 11:30, 12. I'm calling and calling and calling, and no one's answering. And I guess the counselor put them all to bed and then went outside and like was smoking a cigarette or whatever, waiting for, the other people to come back with this resident who had been in the emergency room all night. Well, I didn't know this, and so I jumped to conclusions, and we were brand new in Santa Barbara. We moved from the Midwest. I didn't really know many people. I was not even in college yet. I was just scared to death. Like, what the hell happened to him? Oh my God, he's dead. My jumping to conclusions, he's dead, I mean, I called every police precinct in Santa Barbara. I called, I think even the fire department. I called, like 10 or 12 agencies. I ended up calling the freaking morgue. I was so scared. And it was like ridiculous. It was so ridiculous, but I was so young and so naive. And, he would never be late. He would never, ever be late. He would never do that to me because he was so reliable. We had been together for like a year when we were in North Dakota. So I knew he would never do that to me, and he didn't. But my assumption was he's dead. Absolutely, he's dead. And then like a year later, he was late again once, and I just assumed he's having an affair. And those kinds of thoughts, and by the time the person comes home, you're absolutely livid. You're scared to death, and then you're livid, and then you're angry, and that assumption is what gets you into a fight, right? It gets you into all kinds of drama. Like, you get so wrapped up in your stupid assumptions that have nothing to do with reality world, and so I don't know who's listening to this, or where you are, or what your life is like, or how you are. And I'm not saying that you're definitely dramatic or whatever. I mean, it might be that you're the calm one, and the person in your relationship, whether it's your family or your best friend or your lover or your husband or whatever, or your wife, it doesn't, matter the situation, but maybe they're the ones that jumps to conclusions. They're the ones that assume something, Now, narcissists, if you're in a relationship with a sociopath or a narcissist, they always jump to the worst conclusions, for sure. Also, and everybody can do this, right? It's not, it's not only, certain personalities, disorder types that do this. But, like my last relationship broke up with me because a drunk teenager stumbled and fell against me. And my ex wasn't looking at me, wasn't paying attention to anything. And then all of a sudden he turned and all he could see was me hugging what looked like another man. And he wouldn't listen to reason. He just assumed. And, being a Latino hothead, and he even said, like us, Peruvians, we get totally crazy when another man touches our women. And like, he was a teenager and he was trying to ask if my kids would want to jam with him, maybe get up a band or something. He was interested in my daughter, actually, but he was like super, super drunk, and then he stumbled and he fell, and it was like right at that moment. It's like stupid circumstance, but and I didn't jump to any conclusions that day. I knew better, but it was my ex who jumped to that assumption. And it took him, I don't even think he's ever actually admitted it to me, but it took him a couple years to actually admit to me he wasn't ready for a relationship. So maybe he did jump a little bit to conclusion, but he never apologized. He never fully admitted that's what he did. I'm like, what the hell? How could I be cheating on you when I met this person 10 minutes ago and he fell against me? It's a completely stupid situation. And, after I don't know, we've been together from June, and this was for 6 months we've been together. It felt like we'd been together 2 years. It was crazy, but we had past life connection, and we had to work out some karmic things, and we did, and I don't even know what they were exactly. I think we just wanted to spend time together in this life, and it's over. It's all done and gone. And every 6 months or so, he'll write me and say, "How are you doing, mi reina?" My queen, like, I'm good, doing good. How are you? And but it's but I left him behind. I'm in Ecuador. There's no way I'm gonna get back together with him. So I never move backwards in life, only forwards. But I've seen how that assumption and that jumping to conclusions, if you do it at the wrong moment, at the wrong time, it can literally blow up your life. It can really just ruin everything. It can destroy a decent relationship. It can move and shake your life. And sometimes in good ways. Sometimes in really horrible ways. So, I just want to bring that up, the whole assumption thing. Actually, speaking of assumption things, and I hate to bring this up, I really hate to bring this up, but I feel in clear conscience, I can't really stay silent on this in case you haven't heard about this. Joe Biden is a kid sniffer. What the actual hell? I don't want to try to persuade you or sway your vote one way or the other. This is not a political show at all. But, with the president who is a president right now, having been a rapist and also a child rapist, and having many, many, many women come forward, and one woman who was at the time 14, I think, was, and with an era of the sex trafficking thing coming to light, and the child sex trafficking thing coming to light, and the slave trade coming to light, when all these things in the world are suddenly being exposed and suddenly coming to the light. And that even though this is a spiritual show, we do delve into some of the shadow parts of not only ourselves, but of society at large. We do work on some of these things, and we have to send love and light to these things, shine more light on it, get the bad guys out of there, we need to rescue the women and the children, right? And since we can't physically do that, the only thing we could do is pray for it. Send love and light to it. Light candles, if you're in the witchy ways, But Joe Biden is a kid sniffer. He's a freaking kid sniffer. What the actual hell? Look up Creepy Joe, or it's a hashtag, or kid sniffer, or maybe don't look up that, but look up Joe Biden is a pedo or a molester or those kinds of words on YouTube. Now, I'm not saying he is a pedo or a molester. I don't know what else he's done off camera. I can only speak to what I've seen in many clips of him. And OMG, he is creepy as hell. Like, there's these pictures of him asking little 6-year-old girls if they're 17 and flirting with them and saying you can't date till you're 30, and stroking their hair and smelling their hair and stroking their face and cupping their chest area. And then there's also videos of him coming up behind women that he works with and cupping their breast area. And there's one thing with being affectionate, being a hugger. There's another thing with taking advantage of that and grabbing the chest area of a little child or of a grown woman. It's creepy as hell. I don't know what the deal is with him. I don't know if he's just overly affectionate and he doesn't mean anything by it. He's just weird. A lot of people think he's a nice old grandpa, but I don't tend to believe that would be the case. I'm not saying he rapes people. I don't think he does. I feel like he doesn't do that. But to stroke a child sensuously is extremely creepy, weird, and wrong. And I have come to the conclusion for myself, I can't freaking vote. I can't freaking vote for him. And I think I did mention this yesterday. I can't even remember, but I'm bringing it up again because it was just such a weird thing, and I want to get that off my chest for a moment. It is what it is, I don't know exactly what it is, but I do know that what it is for me personally is that I need to stick it. For the second time in a row, I've got to stay out of these, out of the elections. It's like I can't in clear conscience vote for either the two candidates. If I vote for the Green Party, it's like throwing my vote away towards the Republicans. But I can't vote for the Democrats. They're not getting their shit together in time. And Biden might have some great policies. He might make an excellent president. But I can't vote for someone who hurts children. Just like Hillary, I couldn't vote for somebody who hurts children. I think she's a part of that pedo Pizzagate thing. I feel like even though the Pizzagate thing was said to be a hoax because there wasn't a basement in the pizza place, I think there's more going on. And speaking of more going on, I want to bring this up, and this is another terrible thing that's going on. Wayfair. Have you guys heard the Wayfair thing? Wayfair. Wayfair is a company that sells household items. Okay, fine. A company that sells household items, whatever. It's easy. Kind of one of those catalog stores. You could order stuff online. But what just came to light is they are a front for child sex trafficking. OMG. This is really, really creepy. I can send you the post of it on Instagram if you add me, or just talk to me at mermaidgirl888 if you do want to look at the thing that I saw today. It's all over Twitter, it's all over Instagram, it is probably all over YouTube as well. But when you go to this section of their catalog online, there's like cabinets, and the exact same cabinet will be like a normal cabinet for like $100 or whatever. And then you keep going down the list of cabinets available, and then it'll show a picture of the exact same freaking cabinet with the name of a child that's been missing, and that cabinet will be $10,000 as opposed to $100 for the same exact cabinet. Are they selling a cabinet? I don't freaking think so. And they have been caught, and they've been scrambling now to erase the access to the public now that they've been caught and it's being investigated. And I guess another thing is you have to now know the SKU number, SKU number, like the serial number or whatever, not serial number, but the store's particular number, in order to look up these kinds of things. And it is really, really creepy. I mean, I'll send it to you if you're interested in looking at this, to gain the knowledge and shed the light on it. And it's really, really weird. It's something that's been upsetting me today. I'm glad it's coming to light, though, I'm sad that it happened, but apparently this kind of thing has been going on for decades. I mean, I've even on Amazon, I've seen different companies selling on Amazon, and it's like, how the hell is a pillow? And they even throw pillows, and they'll say, throw pillow for your home decor, and it'll be like $10,000. And it's like, why would they even make that listing? Why can't they just suppress that listing when it's back in stock? That's what I always thought. There's no way in hell if someone's going to spend $10,000 on a pillow, And now it's like really creeping me out. Like what the actual hell is going on with that? And I've noticed even on eBay, in different places, I've noticed where, hey, just buy a cigarette lighter. It's $20,000. What? It's like, well, they must just be out of stock. And that's a way to discourage people from bidding on the item. That's what I thought. But when I noticed that that's not, that there's something different and more sinister and creepy going on Wayfair, and the fact that there's weird names like Yaritza or Dunning or whatever, and it'd be like the last name or the first name of a kid that's been missing. That is creepy as hell. Especially when there'll be like a picture of 10 cabinets, but they're all the same cabinet, but they all have different names and slightly different prices. $10,800, $10,900. I mean, it's creepy. So let's send love and light and prayers to people that would be affected by this negatively, like the children that have been kidnapped. Let's send them love and light and protection. And I don't know if you want to hex, curse, banish, bind people that are violently oppressing children in this way. Remember, a good witch doesn't hex and tell, but there's, if you want to feel a little bit of empowerment, that might be something to consider. And if you're not in the witchy way, you can send love and light. And the whole Ho'oponopono process, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. Keep saying that about the situation, about your reaction to the situation as well. Because if you allow this to disturb your peace like I have today, it's time to work on yourself. So there you go. All right, moving right along to the ascension symptoms we've all been experiencing. OMG, you guys. Like, I woke up in the morning after only 6 hours of sleep. No, 5 hours. I only got like 5 hours and 45 minutes of sleep. And I woke up and I feel like I was only on Instagram for like an hour. And so like 11:45 until 2:15 in the afternoon, it seemed like it was an hour. So it's like 2 hours went by like an hour. And then next thing I know, it's another 2 hours later and it feels like 10 minutes. The whole day, like 13 hours went by in what seemed to be 4 hours. Time absolutely sped up. And then I laid down on the couch and took a quick nap. And when I woke up, well, when I fell asleep, and actually several times today this happened where I was like feeling all this energy, and so I would like focused on my higher chakras. And as I did that, I kind of went into like, not really a trance, but I left my body and I went to talk to, I don't know, builders of the universe, or I mean of the blueprinters of Earth, maybe. I don't know, people who created color. I don't know. I went up there where I've been before. I went into other realms. And I don't know, I mean, massive amounts of time went by here in this level of existence. And these kind of bizarre experiences have happened to me all day. And I'm not drinking, didn't do any drugs. No, I didn't drop the acid. Nothing. No mushrooms. Just weird crap has been happening automatically with this time speeding up thing. Severe back and neck pain, lower back and my neck, and tinnitus has been very strong, very weird. Like going back and forth between ears and high pitches and different pitches, you know, adjustments, attunements. That's when angels are tuning you so that you can raise your vibration. But when I slept on the couch for maybe 2 hours tonight, my son said I was snoring really loud, which is hilarious. I didn't know. I had no idea. I was just like out, like fully strong nap. And as I'm laying there on the couch, right when I woke up, I felt this energy from my spine, from the top of my head all the way to the base of my spine. This energy like peeled away from me. And the only way I can describe this, guys, is, have you ever done a facial mask? You know, where you put the stuff on and then it hardens kind of, and you could peel it away. And I mean, if you're a woman, you pretty much know what I mean. Usually women have done, you know, just you get the face masks in the beauty section of the grocery store. You know, and if you're a man, actually a lot of men do these too. But it's the only thing, or even, okay, this is another way I could describe it, and men do know about this. If you're younger enough or young enough, you know about this, is that those weird little facial masks that they're tiny and you put them on your nose if you have blackheads and you wait. And even if you've never used these, you know what I'm talking about because you've seen commercials for them, right? And then you just peel it off and all this stuff comes out of the blackhead, and it's kind of satisfying to watch, like, oh, good, all this stuff is out. Yay, they're detoxed on their nose. You know, so you know what I'm talking about. Well, that was a kind of weird association my mind made when this energy peeled away from me. It's like I had a spiritual mask and just peeled away from the top of my spine all the way down to the base of my spine, just and it just peeled away from me. And I felt like I just somehow detoxed from a bunch of, I don't even know what, maybe spiritual attacks, maybe negative emotions, maybe times I did jump to conclusions and assumptions. I don't know what it was, but I felt lighter and better. And then when I got up, I could barely walk. I was just like kind of stumbling for a few minutes. Like I couldn't get my bearings, or I had my sea legs on. I don't know. It was so weird. Like those are the kinds of insane ascension symptoms I've been going through. You know, the waves of nausea, not as much today, but yesterday. And remember, you guys, we're going through 1 year every single day this week worth of spiritual growth. I didn't feel my twin much today. I felt him a little bit. And I sat with him a little bit, and then I think he fell asleep early. I feel like he's been emotionally exhausted. I know I have been emotionally and spiritually exhausted this week. And my son and I've been having all kinds of conversations about our future and, like what he's going to do and what I'm going to do. How are we going to make money and pay for rent when we run out of our money in the fall? And so there's a lot of talk about responsibilities. So if you're going through that, worrying about your future, that's a big symptom, or, what a lot of people, I've noticed a lot of people are talking about this. Anyway, I'm going to start reading to you guys a little bit from Space Weather, and I'm probably, I had to put the phone down for a minute, sorry about that, guys. I'm probably going to bleed into the second half of the show with some of this if I have to. Space Weather was pretty nice today. If you want to go check it out, there's a lot of cool things on there. Gorgeous pictures of stars and also comet Neowise. But anyway, solar wind conditions right now are 331.7 kilometers per second. We have had now 4 days without a sunspot. There was a canyon of fire on the sun during the late hours of the 8th of July, where a magnetic filament on the sun became unstable and it snapped. It was an eruption, cut a canyon of fire in the sun's atmosphere, hurling a faint coronal mass ejection, CME, out into space. The NOAA analysis are now modeling the CME to see if it might hit Earth in the magnetic field in the days ahead. So you guys, you have to be aware that if you feel extra energy that you're not used to, OMG, right? There's a supersized nucleus in comet Neowise. There's an article on it. It did not bust up when it went next to the sun. This thing is 5 kilometers wide. OMG, it's huge. So we're going to have this comet for a while. It's pretty cool. Ulu neutron counts are very high. It has increased to 10.4% of the space age average, but that's going up 0.5%, I think, in the past 48 hours. No more solar wind has been flowing, but remember, you guys, we will be hit with solar wind radiation tomorrow as well as the next day, Saturday and Sunday. So just make sure that you stay hydrated, rest when you need to, don't plan strenuous anything, especially if it's hot where you live in the northern hemisphere. You might want to kind of just be aware of that. Now, as far as the Fireball network, NASA's all-sky cameras scanned the skies above the U.S. and they discovered 14 fireballs today. 13 of them were sporadics, random, and one was a July Pegasus. So I thought that was kind of interesting. A lot more fireballs than were. All right, where are we at now? Schumann Resonance today, according to the Italian website, they had 3 major peaks: 44 hertz frequency, 54 hertz frequency, and 82 hertz frequency. That's found at disclosurenews.it. 82 is a big number there, so it's kind of heating up over there. Now, heartmath.org, as you know, I love them because they do have, oh my gosh, I had it all queued up and now it's, I've got to do it again, but they are, now I got to pause this for a second and get this straightened out. I hate when that happens. I had to reload the page, and it's such a sensitive little meter that it's hard to pinpoint it to the numbers of the day you need. Anyway, the most recent data we have now, as far as the Schumann Resonance's power from heartmath.org, is from July 8th, which was Wednesday, at 2300 hours, so practically Thursday. This is where we were at. California was 137 hertz frequency. Hafuf, Saudi Arabia remains at 0. Lithuania was at 177 hertz frequency. Alberta, Canada was at 325 hertz frequency. Northland, New Zealand was at 82 hertz frequency, and Honolulu, South Africa, was at 101 hertz frequency. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the 6 are above 40 hertz. 40 hertz, of course, being OMG. That's the 5th dimension, guys. So, all right, let me check where we're at on time. All right, got 6 minutes. I'm going to try to get through something. ACIM, of course, in Miracles, is acim.org, is where I go to read the lessons for us. I'm going to try to read something on the ego. Maybe I'll read it in the next part of the show because it's very important. If I could squeeze it in. We're going to go ahead and read lesson 331. There's a big, huge thing on the ego that you might want to read. Even if I do end up with enough time to read it, you might want to go reread it for yourself. But it's very good to know. So lesson 331 is this. There is no conflict, for my will is yours. There is no conflict, for my will is yours. How foolish, Father, to believe your Son could cause himself to suffer. Could he make a plan for his damnation and be left without a certain way to his release? You love me, Father. You could never leave me desolate to die within a world of pain and cruelty. How could I think that love has left itself? There is no will except the will of love. Fear is a dream and has no will that can conflict with yours. Conflict is sleep and peace awakening. Death is illusion, life eternal truth. There is no opposition to your will. There is no conflict, for my will is yours. Forgiveness shows us that God's will is one, O-N-E, one, and that we share it. Let us look upon the holy sides forgiveness shows today, that we may find the peace of God. Amen. There is no conflict, for my will is yours. All right, let me see where I'm at with time. We have 3 minutes. Maybe I could get through it quickly. We'll try. All right. What is the ego? The ego is idolatry, the sign of limited and separated self, born in a body doomed to suffer and to end its life in death. It is the will that sees the will of God as enemy and takes the form in which it is denied. The ego is the proof that strength is weak and love is fearful. Life is really death, and what opposes God alone is true. The ego is insane. In fear, it stands beyond the everywhere, apart from all, in separation from the infinite. In its insanity, it thinks it has become a victor over God himself. And in its terrible autonomy, it sees the will of God has been destroyed. It dreams of punishment and trembles at the figures in its dreams, its enemies, who seek to murder it before it can ensure its safety by attacking them. The Son of God is egoless. What can he know of madness and the death of God when he abides in him? What can he know of sorrow and of suffering when he lives in eternal joy? What can he know of fear and punishment, of sin and guilt, hatred and attack, when all there is surrounding him is everlasting peace, forever conflict-free and undisturbed, in deepest silence and tranquility? To know reality is not to see the ego and its thoughts, its works, its acts, its laws, and its beliefs, its dreams, its hopes, its plans for its salvation, and the cost belief in it entails. In suffering, the price for faith in it is so immense that crucifixion of the Son of God is offered daily at its darkened shrine, and blood must flow before the altar where its sickly followers prepare to die. Yet will one lily of forgiveness change the darkness into light, the altar to illusions to the shrine of life itself. And peace will be restored forever to the holy minds which God created as his Son, his dwelling place, his joy, his love, completely his, completely one with him. All right, well, there you guys go. Woo, got it just in time. All right, I'll be right back with Earth Changes Report and Weekly Weird World News right after these messages. It's that time of year, guys. Finally, OMG. I am up for not only one, but 2 People's Choice Podcast Awards this year. I had no idea. I just found out. Okay, the voting starts today, July 1st, and goes through the 31st of July. And I need you guys to nominate my podcast. This is how you do it. Go to podcastawards.com and you have to sign up in order to nominate me, in order to vote. And you have to go to the very first category at the top, and it's the Adam Curry's People's Choice Podcast Award. And I'm way down on the list because, M, Metaphysical Soul Speak, the podcast. And you just click that. And then when you're done with that section, you go to the religion and spirituality category. And again, cast your vote for Metaphysical Soul Speak, the podcast. And then you have to go way at the bottom part of the page, and say, save my nominations. And that's it. It's that simple. It takes less than 2 minutes, probably 1 minute if you have high-speed internet, of course. It's not that much. You can even do this on your phone. It's super, super simple. I voted for myself on my tablet. OMG. So thank you for your continued support and listenership and voting for this show, because by doing so, you're keeping the show alive and we're getting the word out so that other people can benefit from my expertise. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
just in our own small way.
It's one small change, we can do that today. Our mind's getting bigger while the world's getting smaller.
But saving the earth's becoming a tall order.
From the minute you awake from your nightly nap,
You can make little changes like turning off the tap.
while brushing your teeth in the bathroom.
You can cycle or walk your way to the classroom.
Cut down the fuel you used to get to school.
Pile in, let's carpool.
In your lunchbox, cut down the plastic. See, these things aren't too drastic.
Spread the word, get vocal.
Make it go global. When buying food, stay local.
Never mind the dishwasher, do it by hand.
But I hate washing up. Ah, come on, it's grand.
Just one small change in the little things we do. We'll show you how, and now it's up to you. It's our future.
It's our earth.
We need to protect it for what it's worth. It's our future.
It's our earth.
We need to protect it for what it's worth. Since we found out the earth was sick,
We knew we had to do something quick. The earth is our family and our friend.
we need to mend it before it ends.
This is our home, so don't destroy it. Everyone should do their bit. Ice caps melting, seas getting high. Homes will be flooded, polar bears will die. The sun's getting hotter, the rain won't fall. I'm afraid we won't survive at all. Recycle the plastic, please, it's free.
You don't want that ending up in the sea. It's like people use this planet as a bin. Pick up your trash, that's where you begin.
Temperature is rising, we are realizing. We must act now, there's no compromising.
Just one small change in the little things we do. We'll show you how, and now it's up to you. It's our future.
It's our earth.
We need to protect it for what it's worth. It's our future.
It's our earth.
We need to protect it for what it's worth. If you cut down flowers and trees, you contribute to the mass extinction of the bees.
Think of the creatures that don't have a say. There has to be a better way.
There's no higher being to save the earth. We gotta do something before we get hurt.
At school, we know what to do.
But my question is, do you?
Just one small change in the little things we do.
We'll show you how, and now it's up to you. It's our future.
It's our earth.
We need to protect it for what it's worth. It's our future.
It's our earth.
We need to protect it for what it's worth.
Just one small change in the little things we do.
We'll show you how, and now it's up to you. It's our future.
It's our earth.
We need to protect it for what it's worth. It's our future.
It's our earth.
We need to protect it for what it's worth.
All right, guys. So I wanted to mention before we jump into the news headlines for the week that I had a conversation with God several hours ago. And I said, I feel like I'm literally losing my mind as far as memories, just all kinds of memories. Like, I remember what happened between me and other people, but I'm just losing chunks of my days. And I'm worried because I don't want to be having dementia or something, and I'm worried about that. It was like, I don't know what happened for the last 4 hours, And God said, this is happening to everybody. And not everyone's going to, be aware of it, I think. But He said, it's happening to everybody this time, but don't worry. The memories will come back. The important memories will come back. You will get everything back. So if you're suffering from memory loss, and it's not like pot-induced short-term memory loss, or on the other end of the spectrum, massive, Alzheimer's type of thing, don't panic. I mean, unless you really think you might have something like that, then definitely go see a doctor, get tested or whatever. But a lot of it is just with the magnetosphere and the radiation and the ascension energy and ascension symptoms. Like, we're really having quite a bit of fluctuation in everything, like our appetites and sleeping habits and the way our body feels, like the waves of nausea, because like there's some massive changes going on. We are becoming crystalline beings. We're going to be moving into our crystalline bodies if we haven't already. Maybe we are, I don't even know. I do feel a lot of pain in this body, so it seems to me that I'm not fully in a crystalline body yet, although my skin is very shiny and under the sun. When I magnify my skin, I can see that it's rainbows. Little tiny little rainbow bodies. Body cells, cell bodies, whatever. But this memory thing is, for a few days now, but it's been kind of freaking me out. And time speeding up has been massive. I feel like I have to pay my, I guess on Wednesday I've got to pay my rent. And it feels like I just paid it like a week ago. Anyway, just wanted to mention these things before we get more into, tonight's Earth Changes report. But if you're worried about your memory and you don't want to tell anybody because you feel like you're losing your mind literally, I just wanted to let you guys know that it's temporary. You'll get it back. Don't panic. All right. Here we go. We're just going to jump right in. Watchers.news is where I get my Earth Changes report. I'm not going to tell you all the news from all the world, obviously. We just kind of read the headlines just to kind of get a glimpse into what other people in the world are going through, and gives us an idea on who to pray for and what kind of prayers to send. In case you want to make this part of your light working mission to care about other people and help raise the vibration with your prayers and your energy, your positive thinking. Here we go. Oh, of course, I'm like yawning, so I'm like so, like, it's been a weird day. I'm spiritually exhausted, mentally tired. Like, I want to get through this, and I'm going to go downstairs and make some barbecue chicken wings. I need some extra protein right now. All I've had all day is bagels. I had one little tiny bagel, a miniature bagel, and cream cheese. And macadamia nuts. Oh my God, I love the macadamia nuts here. They're so good. Along with a couple pieces of butter toast. Some days you just need that kind of comfort food, Anyway, here we go. Watchers.news. Massive floods and record rains leave 50 people dead or missing, and 270,000 people are urged to evacuate in Kyushu, Japan. Oh my God. Over 250,000 people forced to evacuate. You know what? Please send sunshine and love, an energy of happiness and rainbows to Japan. Major noctilucent clouds is an outbreak over Europe. So gorgeous. These pictures are gorgeous. I mean, like, the sky is an electric cobalt blue. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you aren't in Europe and you haven't seen these pictures of the noctilucent clouds, and remember, this is a cloud cover that's in the upper atmosphere. It's like 2 kilometers up or something. And when it gets struck by meteors, little meteorites, what happens is it glows. It just starts to glow. I think it might be frozen clouds struck by meteorites. It's kind of a crazy situation. And it doesn't happen that often. And all of a sudden, our skies are filled with noctilucent clouds all over the globe, mostly northern hemisphere. Anyway, it's worth it. Good. Go check out the picture. All right. Deadly landslides and flash floods hit Nepal. So it looks like this is a theme again for this week, is a lot of floods, landslide. This was like a theme from last week also. I don't know if you've noticed, but it seems to me like we have weeks where it's all volcanoes going off everywhere, and we have weeks where it's all, heavy winds and swarms of locusts everywhere. And now we're having one of these flash floods, destructive floods, landslides. So, sometimes it's air, sometimes it's fire, and now it's water this week. As I'm saying this to you guys, it's actually raining. I don't know if the audio is going to be picking up the sounds of the rain on the roof, which is just a couple of feet from me because I'm on the 3rd floor. If it rains a little bit heavier, then you'll definitely hear it, but it's pretty crazy. Anyway, let's send some love and light to Nepal. So that's Japan and Nepal, and here we go to extreme rainfall, destructive floods hit parts of western India, and here it is again. They need a lot of love and sunshine, rainbows. So for Nepal, India, as well as Japan. And in Bihar, another part of India, surpasses average annual lightning death toll in the first few days of the 2020 monsoon season. What the actual hell? Like, they actually have a lightning death toll. People dying by being struck by lightning is common there. OMG. And this was a story, a headline from last week, and here it is now, that they finally, the death toll was raised in the past week. So, last week it was, I think, everybody that usually gets struck by lightning and killed in a year, those amount of people had been struck last week, and now it's beyond that. I mean, that's a creative way, right? Let's have a weird calmer convention in which, the 30 of us or whatever, we're all going to be struck by lightning within 2 weeks of each other. I mean, how does that kind of conversation in heaven before you're born, how does that take place? I mean, that's crazy. All right. I don't know. Let's just move on. I guess we'll send them some sunshine as well in Bihar. Once in a lifetime, comet Neowise shines brightly and joins the ISS in noctilucent clouds. And if you want to go to watchers.news, they've got observing tips as well as a live show. You can watch it. So many amazing things. I don't even know what ISS means. Joins the ISS in noctilucent clouds. What is ISS? Oh, I'm sure it'll come to me. I'll figure it out eventually. Tropical cyclone is organizing. Oh my God, it sounds like a union, like they're unionizing. The fairies have gotten together. They've decided to unionize and organize. This headline is funny. All right. Tropical cyclone organizing off North Carolina. Expected to break another 2020 Atlantic hurricane season record. Great. I don't know what to do about that. I guess. Oh my God. Oh my God. Woo, this little picture of this. I saw a massive face. That's a big djinn. D-G-I-N-N. That's a big genie. Wow. And he's got like a big turban on. What? It's a face I see in the clouds. Oh my gosh. You guys got to go to watchers.news. This was reported on July 9th. where it says tropical cyclone. So this is the first report of it for the week. So the jinn are organized, and usually it's a dragon, the upper atmosphere beings that take care of storms and the like. But now this is a jinn energy. Wow, interesting. I don't see a dragon in this picture, but the next picture on the same story from a day later says Tropical Storm Faye forms just off the coast of North Carolina, bringing heavy rains, strong winds to mid-Atlantic coast and New England. So let's send them some calmness energy as well as sunshine. But in the second picture, it does look like a dragon spirit has taken over. Wow. It's really weird once you start to see this stuff, you can't unsee it, and it's very, very obvious. Hidden in plain sight, as they say. And once you start seeing these kinds of spirits, and they're literally formed in the clouds, once you realize it, it's like, oh, you can't unrealize it. It's very odd. Anyway, fatal tornadoes have left a destructive path through the west central part of Minnesota in the United States. That's crazy. It's all about the storms right now. Big storms and massive floods this week. Let's send them some sunshine and also calm energy to Minnesota. So, in southern Norway, they entered July with a record 10 meters. Holy crap. 32 feet of snow. What the hell? Well, let's definitely send Norway a lot of sunshine and love. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. It shows this man standing next to you like I guess what it looks like a snowdrift. There's no end in sight to it. That's like really crazy. Oh my gosh. I had no idea it was even snowing up there. I thought, hey, it must be summertime. Everything's warm in the upper half of the globe, but apparently not. Deadliest monsoon in 11 years has triggered floods and multiple landslides in Nepal. Again with the floods, again with the landslides, and again with a deadly monsoon. Heavy, heavy, heavy rain. Very weird. So let's send love and light and sunshine to Nepal. That's crazy. Crazy. Alright, so I had to go back so I could see more of the news. I guess I still have to that can't be the last of it, right? Well, good golly, Miss Molly, that might be the last of it. I think, literally, that's it. We're finished the headlines. Wow. That just went so fast, right? Alright, I'm gonna pause this for a moment. Wow, usually it's like 25 minutes. That's 15 minutes. Boom. 15:55 right there. Alright, I'm going to take not really a break, but I'm going to pause this and go find us some cool news, weird news, odd news, strange news, and the like. So, I'll be right back. Well, it's as if God has heard me, and now the rain has picked up. And you guys might get to hear some rain on the roof, after all, during this recording. So we're going to go with a new science story from livescience.com for our first odd news. Astronomers discover a South Pole wall, a gigantic structure stretching 1 billion light years across. OMG. There's a picture on livescience.com, strands in the intergalactic web. It's very, very strange. So spectacular 3D maps of the universe have revealed one of the biggest cosmic structures ever found. An almost inconceivable wall stretching 1.4 billion light years across that contain hundreds of thousands of galaxies. The South Pole Wall, as it's been dubbed, has been hiding in plain sight, remaining undetected until now, because large parts of it sit 500 million light years away behind the bright Milky Way galaxy. The South Pole Wall rivals in size the Sloan Great Wall, the sixth largest cosmic structure discovered. 1 light year is roughly 6 trillion miles, or 9 trillion kilometers. So this biggest cosmic structure is mind-bendingly humongous. Astronomers have long noticed that galaxies are not scattered randomly throughout the universe, but they're rather clumped together in what is known as the cosmic web, enormous strands of hydrogen gas in which galaxies are strung like pearls on a necklace that surround gigantic and large empty voids. Mapping these intergalactic threads belongs to the field of cosmography, which is the cartography of the cosmos, according to study researcher Daniel Pomeroy, a cosmographer at Paris-Saclay University in France. He's the one that told that to Live Science. So, I'm not going to go into the rest of this article, but if you want to check it out, it is on livescience.com. That is absolutely trippy. Now, this is a little bit more Earth Changes news about Yellowstone. They didn't really mention this on Watchers.news. I'm kind of shocked, to be honest. But now at express.co.uk, they they were talking about this. Now I went to the website and now it's not. It's talking about the CME. Well, I don't know. Now I can't find it. They made me sign a cookie thing. I hate signing a form about cookies and I don't get an actual cookie to eat. It's so irritating. Wow. Might have to pause this again. But basically what the article was saying that I was trying to get to was that Yellowstone volcano was hit by more than 70 earthquakes in the past 28 days. And they're trying to determine whether or not Yellowstone will erupt. Now, the problem with this is that it's huge. It's a super volcano. If that thing goes off, the majority of the United States is gone. There goes my listeners. No. It's like literally the least of the worries, right? It's like there goes pretty much everybody I know. And everyone you guys know, most of you that listen to me, I have discovered recently, are from the United States. So that's pretty cool. But, yeah, I don't know. That's scary. That's some scary stuff right there. Alright, let me see how much time we've got. They've got some neat articles over there on Coast to Coast AM. So I'm gonna pause this for a second and get that queued up. Alright, so I found a veritable treasure trove of headlines from Coast to Coast AM. If you want to delve into the stories further, you have to go to their website, coasttocoastam.com. this was an amazing show started by Art Bell long, like decades ago. And God rest his soul. He retired and George Norrie took over. Then Art Bell ended up having a show again on the internet for a while. And because this was an actual radio show, like on radios across the world on the AM dial. And Art Bell built it up enormous. And then he had a little brief time he had a little show, and I ended up being a news writer for him. I was one of, I think there was like maybe 20 of us or something, and he actually said my name on the air and read my articles on the air a couple times, so that was actually pretty cool. I loved that he did that. I love Art very much. He was an amazing person. But on this website there are some amazing headlines, so I'm going to go ahead and read some of them to you guys. Oh my gosh, I just realized I didn't check the time. Okay. Oh yeah, so we have a lot we could go through. So, at the end of June, there was increasingly huge hailstones that were causing widespread destruction in Africa. So you could go check that out if you want to read more. Let's see. There's a hidden history of Chicago's occult publisher, D. Lawrence Publishers, from the early 20th century. They have a long reach and influence. If you want to, maybe go see what they published. I'm sure most of the things that are more than 80 years old are already on the Gutenberg project.org if you want to go read the books. So there's a little speculation about artificial intelligence and could they become like humans. We are living in the golden age of conspiracy theories. We're living right in it, according to Politico. And there's a little blurb on that and how to get to it. So scientists spot a flash of light from colliding black holes. Very, very strange. There's a weird flash from the crash. They said that was an article that was on Live Science. Very, very strange. 3 hikers went missing in Washington's Mount Rainier National Park. And they've gone missing on separate excursions. Now, you guys, we've talked about on the show a couple moments here and there that there is a movie called 411. It's a documentary, and it's about all the missing people. Hundreds of thousands of missing people have gone missing in the past 10 years when they enter into national parks in the United States. So, I don't know, that's, when I hear headlines like that about 3 hikers missing, it, usually it's like, oh, well, probably the weather, maybe they got lost, they'll come back. They'll turn up one way or the other, but it's mysterious that hundreds of thousands of people have gone missing, and I feel like it's something much more sinister and dark, like aliens capturing them and taking them, or maybe the government experimenting with them, or human trafficking, possibly. I don't know. I mean, it's all speculation. There's no proof of any of this, but it always makes me shudder, makes me think dark, dark thoughts I don't really want to have. So they were able finally to explain Betelgeuse's supernova dimming. They're able to explain it. They say that cool patches on a supergiant star close to Earth were behind the surprise dimming last year. That's good. We don't want to lose Betelgeuse, right? Oh my, they want to kill me. Many COVID patients have terrifying deliriums. Paranoid hallucinations plague many coronavirus patients in ICU. And this is an experience that can slow down their recovery. This was reported in the New York Times. Oh my God. That's really terrifying. According to Live Science, mysterious radiation spike has been detected over Scandinavia, and they believe it might have come from a nuclear power plant in Russia. I am not going to touch that one with a 10-foot glowing pole. Ooh, yuck. According to The Guardian, QAnon conspiracies have thrived on Facebook. It's a movement of people who interpret messages from an anonymous figure, Q. That's really weird, honestly. The QAnon thing is a strange phenomenon. They say down the rabbit hole. That's how you describe it. It is kind of like that, isn't it? Apparently, they found the world's tallest cactus, according to Oddity Central. Photos of an unusually tall cactus was discovered to be growing on the side of a 3-story building in Tokyo, and it's exploded all over social media. This sounds very strange. Could teleporting ever work? According to Gizmodo, a number of scientists have weighed in on why teleportation is not yet a thing and whether or not it ever could be an actual thing. I think we're going to learn how to teleport ourselves before the government releases technology that would teleport us. Which, it would be awesome. I mean, can you imagine just, you enter the teleportation station, end up in San Francisco a few minutes later. You hit Ghirardelli Square, you pick up all your chocolate for dessert, go down to the wharf and eat one of the most amazing restaurants ever. There's several of them. There's the Rainforest Cafe, if it's still even open, I don't know. There was one, the Mermaid restaurant. I don't know what it's called, maybe Mermaid. Honestly, Bistro, I don't know. But they have mermaid silverware. And last time I was there, a French waiter helped me steal some. Not a lot, just like 1 fork, 1 knife, 1 spoon. I had to have a complete set. And I had it for years. I loved it. Oh my God. And he said that they had to have it commissioned, so. But, I mean, I would love to do that. Just like teleport over there, have a couple meals, take a few trolley cars, hit up Chinatown. Love Chinatown. Biggest Chinatown outside of actual China is San Francisco. And the biggest one in South America is in Lima. And I've been to that one too. And I love it. I mean, I love going to get Chinese medicine. I went into a grocery store and they had like this massive aisle, and all the way up and down the whole aisle was nothing but Chinese medicine cures. And they have everything in Chinese and Spanish. And it was like incredible. I could not believe how organized it was. Anyway, I'd love to like just teleport to these places, get what I need, come home. Can you imagine doing your grocery shopping like in Berkeley at Whole Foods Market and then teleportating back to Ecuador? This would be so entirely convenient for me. I could go get my red licorice anytime I want. So, all right, let's go to the next one. Mystery over a monster star's vanishing act. Astronomers have been baffled by a disappearance of a massive star that they had been observing. I think it's cosmic space gas or something. Space dust. Probably just went in the way of it. That's really kind of creepy though, isn't it? Well, this is fun. A 2-headed baby has been born that baffled doctors and it was placed in intensive care. A conjoined twins that share one body. There's only one genital organ, which is believed to be male. And this happened in Uzbekistan, so I don't know. Who says 2 heads are better than one? When this 2-headed baby starts to talk, at least he won't ever have anyone to He will never lack someone to talk to. You'd always have a friend, right? Or an enemy, can you imagine? Ugh. Poor thing. Poor babies, I don't know. Babies aren't things, you know what I mean? Forget it. Moving right along from my political incorrectness right there. Russian couple has built the Pyramid of Giza replica in their rural backyard near St. Petersburg. It's 19 times smaller than the structure that inspired it, though. Alright, well, that sounds like fun. That's a fun DIY project for the weekend. Building the Pyramid of Giza in your backyard. Exposed planetary core has been spotted circling a distant star. Okay, we could look at that later. Archaeologists have found ancient Aboriginal sites underwater off the coast of Australia. Many settlements were built in areas that were on dry land at the end of the Ice Age when the sea levels were lower. That's very interesting. The science behind the power of eyes. New research has helped us understand why the eyes are both powerful and mysterious. That's from Psychology Today. That sounds interesting. Could doomsday bunkers become the new normal? According to the New York Times, they say when we were told to stay inside our homes, a portion of the population quietly just slipped below ground. That's probably a very real possibility. Yeah, COVID-19, screw that. I'll be down in my underground bunker, eating my rations of chocolate and playing video games. Natural cave might help explain Mexico's Pyramid of the Moon. And the natural caves might have influenced the layout of the pyramid and the city complex there, which I'm assuming they mean in Mexico City. Very, very interesting. If you want to check it out, of course, it's Coast to Coast AM. Or you could go search for that on Ancient Origins, which is another website. There's an article on the history of abracadabra as a disease cure. The history of magic words and pandemics. Interesting. Yeah, abracadabra is it is a very sacred word. Abracadabra spells are interesting. You can decrease or increase anything you want using an abracadabra spell. So, Gizmodo had an article also about teleportation being possible. Very interesting. It's an article about a physics professor answering questions. The United States Navy has warned staff not to buy LSD on the dark web. Wow, that's according to The Independent. They say not because they could be ripped off, but because they might get caught. OMG. It's always better to know your person in person and ignore the internet, to buy your drugs. Okay. A plant has now been brought back to life after 32,000 years. Ooh, wow. And scientists are trying to determine how it was possible to grow seeds that are tens of thousands of years old. That's very interesting, isn't it? Very strange. Okay. A Knox County man's historically documented 1969 UFO encounter is going to be starring on Unsolved Mysteries. Whatever he saw on September 1st, 1969, Knox County resident Tom Reed, whatever he saw, it can't be fully explained, but it did change his life. That looks interesting. I believe this is on Netflix. I think it's a new show on Netflix. Unsolved Mysteries. The terrifying tale of the Lantern Men who caught the Cambridgeshire fens, described as an atmospheric ghost light, or the lights, believed to be evil spirits, attempted to draw their victims to a watery death in the reed beds of the fens. Interesting. Well, you could go to Coast to Coast AM to find that, or you can just click forward and just go to CambridgeshireLive.com, I guess. Mail Online has reported that a rare night shining clouds give a 12th century church a ghostly glow. I believe they're talking about the noctilucent clouds, and I have seen a couple pictures now of the noctilucent clouds literally making churches glow, just because the way it's shining off the steeple. It's very, very eerie and very interesting. The lack of visitors to the iconic Scottish Loch during lockdown has made it possible for nature to take over. And now birds have been nesting inside the Loch Ness Monster's head. I guess that's, not the actual Loch Ness Monster, but it sounds like a statue of the Loch Ness Monster has been a little bit disrespected by birds. Yeah, go figure. So, heat waves have been increasing in frequency and duration since the 1950s in nearly every part of the world, according to Mail Online. Australian experts made a global assessment of the weather events, and they've now developed a new metric called cumulative heat to show how much heat is actually packed in the heat waves themselves. Very interesting. Now, this one I've seen, this was hilarious. A huge bird of prey captured a shark-like fish and just flies off in a viral video. So, very, very strange. That was awesome. Actually, I loved seeing that video. Alright, just 2 weeks after the Ring of Fire solar eclipse on the solstice, the world will see the moon turn red, which doomsday believers think is another sign of the apocalypse. Independence Day eclipse over U.S. is the second of 3 chilling signs of the coming end times. OMG. It just seems like it just gets better and better, right? Very crazy. Minecraft lockdown lesson recreates ancient island tomb. Take an archaeologist, a bored schoolgirl living through coronavirus lockdown, and a shared interest in exploring ancient tombs. This sounds interesting. It's on the BBC News, or you can just go to Coast to Coast AM to locate the link to that one. Researchers at United States. Oh my God, I'm falling asleep. No. Researchers at UCLA, that's University of California, Los Angeles, have developed a translation glove that can track the positions of your fingers, according to Fast Company, which is the website. They say that these gloves can let you hear sign language. Very interesting. Now this is fun. Merlin Sheldrake came up with an ingenious PR campaign to promote his book that drew the attention of the art world, according to Oddity Central. Author of Book on Mushrooms lets the mushrooms eat his book, and then he eats the mushrooms. Oh my God. That's just... Man, that's brilliant. I love that. That's awesome. Alright, DNA linked to COVID-19 was inherited from the Neanderthals, according to a study. The stretch of 6 genes seems to increase the risk of severe illness from the coronavirus. Well, that's in the New York Times. Very strange stuff. There are dogs that have been trained to sniff out 5,000-year-old bones. So now I guess archaeologists are using canine assistance to uncover ancient remains. Well, that's very strange. But okay. Genes from culturally extinct indigenous group have been discovered in an unsuspecting Tennessee man. The last known members of the Beothuk people of Newfoundland were thought to have died out 200 years ago, and yet, I guess here's another link. Found in Tennessee. That's really strange. Let me check the time here. Alright. About 10 minutes or so. Blind sight. A strange neurological condition that could help explain consciousness. Imagine being completely blind, but still be able to see. There was a book that I read that my husband and I took turns reading, but to my oldest kid back when she was very little. Both my kids sat still for story time every night. They'd sit on the living room couch and we would read them stories. And there was a story about Merlin, young Merlin, and it was described as him being blind and he could see. And I thought, well, that's imaginative. And then I started hearing more and more stories of this. So I think it's a very interesting idea. Blind sight, a strange neurological condition that can help explain some, consciousness. Very interesting. Chinese scientists have revealed analysis of a weird substance that they found on the far side of the moon. Crazy. Well, surprise, it's made of rock. Alright. A bright fireball did explode over Tokyo with the force of 165 tons of TNT in it. Wow. That was just the force of it. That actually there is no TNT, but very interesting. A space rock reportedly caused a sonic boom as it crashed into the atmosphere over Japan. Yes, this is fun. The snow on the Italian Alps is turning pink. So now scientists have to investigate why. Large swatches of glacial ice have turned a peculiar pink color, and that's according to Unexplained Mysteries. Now, I've noticed this pink phenomena in snow. Not only is it absolutely adorable, but it also is a weird, like, kind of a bacteria or something. I don't know, but it is pink. I've seen this pink snow, so I don't know what it is in Italy, but I know in Northern California what it was when I noticed it. Oh gosh, maybe 15 years ago. I was like, why is the snowbanks pink? That's crazy. So, there you go. There's experts in the field of dream research that have been offering tips on how to put an end to chronic nightmares. So, if you want to go to gizmodo.com, you can find out if you could get rid of your nightmares. Investigating Roswell, Colonel Philip Corso gave an interview way back in 1947. Now there's parts of it, never before seen footage, where he details his hands-on experience with the crash debris from the 1947 Roswell UFO crash incident. And that's on MysteryWire.com. The people who imagine disasters. Teams of people spend their days imagining what might happen in a crisis to ensure that we can be better prepared for when it does happen. That's a strange job, right? So, a baby raptor has been discovered in Alaska and might be a permanent resident of the ancient Arctic. Interesting. Paleontologists may have identified a new species of dinosaur that lived, mated, and nested in the Arctic 70 million years ago. That's huge. Very, very strange. Alright, well, I'm starting to feel the cosmic radiation. Remember, I told you guys it was going to hit on the 11th, and, well, we're 46 minutes into the 11th right now. Wait, am I right? Is this the 11th? Yeah, it is. Okay. So, the solar winds, I feel they're starting to hit. I'm starting to have that heavy energy, and I don't want to fall asleep finishing this up. So, maybe we could just do 2 more, and then that'll be that for the end of the week. That'll be the end of our week. See, I'm like losing my ability to even function all of a sudden. Woo! Getting hit by that radiation it's so strange. I'm so sensitive to it. Ancient Americans made epic Pacific voyages, and there's been new evidence that have been found between the Americas and Eastern Polynesia, according to BBC News. I started to read an article on that the other day. It's very interesting. There's been strange new species, 4 of them in fact, have been discovered in the abyss in the Pacific Ocean at the bottom. There's 4 new species and 2 new genera that they've discovered. Very cool. I like when they do that. Ancient Americans, I already said that. Okay, sorry. And the South Pole Wall is another article here about that massive billions of years of light years across thing. Europe's new Mars yard is like a playground for planetary engineers. The facility is designed to simulate what conditions would be like on Mars when the actual rover, named Rosalind Franklin, arrives in 2022, according to Atlas Obscura. Very interesting. And a fossil of a 70 million year old fish that was a giant was found in Argentina recently. According to AFP, the predator fish was more than 6 meters long, according to the researchers. And of course, if you want to learn how to see Comet Neowise, because it is visible to the naked eye, there is a guide on Coast to Coast AM as well on how you could see it, because it already has completed its close approach to the sun. It's now returning from whence it came, and pretty soon we won't have it in our skies available to see. So get out there while you can. The article you want to go and look at that is again on Gizmodo. So Gizmodo sounds like a very interesting website, doesn't it? Alright, that's it. I'm starting to get very, very sleepy. This cosmic nap energy is just no joke. Boy, I might not even go eat. I might just go right back to sleep. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I wanted to say thank you for your continued listenership and your support and faith and confidence in me, my abilities, and the show. Metaphysical Soul Speak, the podcast, thanks you. Especially for the nominations in the People's Choice Podcast Awards. Also, I wanted to thank those of you who have found your favorite episodes of Metaphysical Soul Speak, the podcast, on your various app, platform, or player that you guys use. And some of you have turned it into a post for Instagram. I wanted to thank you for that, because I have noticed a number of jumps in my listenership. So thank you so much for that. That makes me both flattered and humbled that you would help me in that way. So thank you so much. So I love each and every one of you, and I'm glad we're on this cosmic journey together of ascension into the fifth dimension. It's been very strange, but also very rewarding that we have found each other. We are #Soul Family, #Soul Tribe. Hashtags I haven't used in weeks, by the way, but you could still find me on both Twitter as well as Instagram with those hashtags, or just go to @MermaidGirl888 for both, and that's how you can find me. I haven't been on Twitter in months either, but you could go see some of my early, if you go to my very early things, I just did a bunch of super funny lines. I mean, from years and years ago, like 7 years ago. But it's always fun to go back every now and again. Then every now and again, I'll go back and read them. They're hilarious. A lot of people loved my stuff back then. Anyway, well, that's it, you guys. That's all she wrote for today. I will be back on Monday with all unique and original programming, just like always. And we will get back into reading the book, The Human Aura, on Monday. So we have that to look forward to. It's pretty cool. Anyway, that's it, guys. That's all she wrote for me. Hugs, virtual hugs, social distancing kisses to you. And not in a creepy way, just, mwah, mwah, in the air. Through the mask. Okay. Anyway, have a good weekend, guys. Remember to stay hydrated during this crazy cosmic radiation time. We got 2 more days of this living 1 year worth of spiritual growth in a day. 2 more days of that. When I come back on Monday, thank God that'll be over, and so will Mercury retrograde. Mercury goes direct on Sunday. Whew. Do you hear that collective energy of thank effing God? All right, that's it. It's all she wrote for me for the week. I'm signing off now with peace and joy and high vibes of the Holy Fifth Dimension. Until next time, guys, peace. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.